Alright. Hello, 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 beautiful souls. Welcome back to another episode of Sisters with a Purpose. I'm your girl, Leash.
And I'm Bree.
And as you can see, we are at home, child. We are not on site recording. We are doing something new. Geez, it has been a day, but we are here and we are so excited to bring you guys another episode of Sisters with a Purpose. Again, if you have not, make sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button as well. You can also follow us on our Instagram page. And if you do already follow us, please feel free to share our page and just try to get our followers up as we continue on this journey. But we are so excited to bring you another episode. So, Bree, how have you been? I haven't seen you since you came to Dallas off of the high that we had. We had a good time.
We did. We had a good time. I'm over here like, so when am I coming back up to Dallas again? It's probably gonna be in June. It's been a lot of work, a lot of chaos at work. Started school. School has been keeping me busy. I actually have a paper due today. Luckily, I already got it done. I'm just trying to find my sequence again. Like, even though I was only out of school for a few months, when you get that little taste of freedom and not having to be in school mode, it's hard to just reconnect and get back into that life. So that's been us. And appointments. Because, as much as we drill into y'all about staying on top of y'all's health, I have been booking appointments. So my husband has had a couple of extra appointments he's had to do. Everybody's getting their teeth looked at next week with the dentist. So we're on it. We are on it. Yes.
Good. It seems like, I don't know about you, but here in Dallas, every doctor is like booked for like the next month. I know when I tried to book a dentist appointment, they're like, "Oh, we can see you in May." I said, "Well, I hope I don't have a cavity because it's already March." I'm like, "If we wait till May, ain't no telling what's going to happen."
Yeah, our dentist was a good 3 to 4 weeks out, and then it didn't help that we're a family of 6. We have 4 kids we're trying to get in, plus 2 adults. So we're trying to schedule like back-to-back appointments. Who's going with what parent on this day? So yeah, it's challenging.
Yeah. So friendly reminder, y'all, if you're trying to get in with a doctor, dentist, especially annual physicals, go ahead and call them now. I know a lot of you might be on spring break. You got that free time. Go ahead and call them now and book that appointment. Schedule that time off with whoever you work for, and just go ahead and get that done.
It's gonna take you a month to get in anyway. So plan ahead. Plan ahead with your schedule. Definitely.
All right. So with it being March, it is National Women's Month. So shout out to us, shout out to all the women out there. So Bree, who would you say is a woman that inspires you the most? If you had to name 2, who would be your top 2?
Definitely off the bat, I'm a huge, I love Angela Bassett. Okay. Love her dearly. Like, she is the epiphany of just like the poise, the classiness. Like, her catalog is forever ending. She's done, TV shows, her movies. My top 2 favorite movies is Waiting to Exhale and What's Love Got to Do with It. Like, she bodied those roles. I know some people are going to be like, well, what about Black Panther? Yes, she did great, but those 2 are classics for me. The second person, I think every person is going to have this on their list, especially if they have to choose 2. And I think she's your top, is Michelle Obama. Like, I don't think there's anybody that's going to outdo her. She was our first lady. So, yeah.
So Michelle Obama would be my number 1. I love everything about her. I love what she stands for as far as, when they go high, we go low. I also love how she raised her daughters to be fearless and just not, getting accustomed to what society has for women. And I also love that I think she did an interview on, I believe it was Oprah, and she spoke about how it was times where she didn't like her husband.
Oh
When she
yeah,
was,
folks
yeah,
spoke the truth.
yeah. And some people are like, oh, the first lady didn't like her husband. And yeah, she said she just spoke about how it was times where when they were raising their kids, like he was different. When he was the president, he was different. And I think there's not too many women that talk about that. Like they talk about how, or society talks about how, women, we can be strong, but we should get married and have a family, but they don't talk about the things in between it. And it is true. I think we change as women. There's things we don't like to do anymore. There's things we have to start doing, leading the household. What are your thoughts on that? Do you agree with what she said as far as not always getting along with your husband?
You're not gonna always get along. And I think people that take on marriage and think that it's always hunky-dory and it's this honeymoon phase and you're never gonna have bad days, I promise you marriage is not gonna last long. And a lot of people that honestly get a divorce are typically those that they hit those hiccups in their marriage and they see that there's no coming out of it, or oh, this isn't just gonna work. And it's like, no, you're gonna have those moments. And I've seen
Right.
clips, especially of people that have talked about they hit these hiccups and they lasted months, they lasted years, where their marriage was not in a healthy place. And then they came out of it on another side, and here they are 20, 30 years down the road. And I tell people all the time, the same person you married in year 1 is not the same person you're going to get in year 10. There's growth. There are things that are going to make y'all change, like kids, work, stress, you know, it changes. Your needs and want change, especially during marriage. Like, you're not going to have that same person. I promise you, it's not going to be the same person in year 1. And you have to constantly date one another, court one another. You gotta constantly be feeding into just keeping it spicy and keeping it nice and changing things up. You can't get into consistent mode. You can't.
Right.
No, it's not gonna work.
Yeah. So that's why I like, Michelle Obama is someone I look up to just because of her sharing that transparency on a show in front of, with other women. Um, I
She
guess
just
my
said what some people are not bold enough to say. That's
right.
that's all she
Yeah,
did.
but it coming from her as the first lady, so people probably assume like, oh, so that whole time your husband was serving, y'all probably weren't getting along. And in her book, she does share that. She shares
Can you
it.
imagine the stress of being with
Yeah,
the president and then being with an first African American Black president who was already catching a whole bunch of background noise and having to pour into a man who's going through that? That is hard as a wife, to see your husband be broken and torn apart by other individuals. And then when he's taking that suit off and he's coming to bed at night, having to pour back into him through a 4-year term. And he did
mhm,
it twice. So 8 years? No,
yeah.
that was exhausting.
Yeah, I bet I know he wasn't the same person when they went first into the White House. That wasn't
Girl,
the same
we
person who
saw the
left.
transition. He grayed fast. He was smoking, you know.
Yeah. So, ooh,
We saw we saw the change and we wasn't even in the White House.
right. She's laying next to this man
Every day.
every day.
Every day.
The second person I would have to say inspires me is Tabitha Brown. I've recently started watching
Okay.
her and just how she carries herself. She did an interview with Shannon Sharp, just talking about how God spoke to her in her life and how she should continue on doing things. And she's like, "Are you sure, God?" And the way she just carries herself, and she shares her story about how she became vegan and how it just made her like she wasn't on medications. She started not having headaches, and having a Black woman just share her testimony about that, because a lot of the ways we become sick is in what we eat.
Oh yeah.
So having having a Black woman share, like, if you just, she's not saying to go vegan, because that's your business if you go vegan, but she's saying if you can just make those small little changes, you
Mm-hmm.
can get off that medication, or you can just start feeling a lot better. So
Very.
going back to when we were talking about in episode one about fasting and prayer and different things like that, I got it from my church mostly, but listening to Tabitha Brown and how she speaks about her journey and how she used to drive Uber and now she's an actress, and she has her own like seasonings and books and different things like that. So that was just inspiring to see her
Growth.
starting from, yeah, for
Mm-hmm.
sure. I'm always for the growth. I think that's why me and you are so close, because I've seen you transition from military, mom, wife, and business owner, nursing. It's just like, well, dang,
It's a
I
lot.
need to
And I'll
catch
tell you,
up.
just you know what? You can't even say catch up. I never understood until I threw myself in the middle of it is, bro, we all got our season. And I think I used to put myself in like the situation. I think it's normal. I think we all go through it. You seeing everybody progressing around you, and you're like, damn, like when is it my turn? I'm trying, I'm
Right.
trying, I'm trying, I'm trying. But man, when it started landing in your lap, it's a beautiful thing. So you'll see your seasoning is coming. Just keep speaking it into existence. You surrounding yourself by good vibrations, good people, and yeah, y'all gonna get there.
Yeah, emphasis on that last part. I think as we get older, a lot of people, they see friendships ending, or friendships they don't even necessarily have to end, but just distancing. They
Hmm.
see it as a bad thing, and I'm here to tell you, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think sometimes you have to separate yourself in order to have that growth. I have other girlfriends that I haven't spoken to in a long time, but I've seen them grow, and I tell them from a distance all the time, like, "Hey, I see you. I'm proud of you." Even though we don't have to talk every day, every other week, but I do see that you're growing, and it's your
Hmm.
time. Um, so I just want to say that, because a lot of people think it's bad to like not talk to somebody for a certain amount of time. It's your growth season. Sometimes you have to be a little bit selfish.
Yeah, everybody can't go with you sometimes. They can't. They really they can either grow with you or they're gonna hold you back, or they're gonna be stagnant. And you have to really learn how to separate who's gonna make the cut and who's not. And I think as you get older, you have more of an understanding versus when you're younger, you're just thinking, oh, well, this person just they moving different, they acting different.
Mm-hmm.
No, they have to do what they have to do. I went through
Yeah.
it, even being in the military. Like I at the age of 21 had a secret clearance. And I'm like, nah, I can't come home with you and go turn up and you the one that like to fight in the club and you smoke weed and you ride dirty. Me? Oh no, bro. I can't do it. Oh, you acting different. You don't join the military. You think you're better than everybody. Nah, I got something to lose. And it look real different getting discharged out the military. Nobody wants to dishonorable. So I can't kick it with you. Can't
Yeah.
do it. I had to cut a lot of people off. Like I said, everybody can't go with you, but it is what it is. So
Right. It's
yeah,
funny to say that, because that kind of leads us into our first topic, or our next topic. I wouldn't say first, because we did want to just, make sure we recognize that it is National Women's Month. But
mhm.
our next topic is the LSU and South Carolina little tussle. We're not gonna say fight, because it wasn't a fight. It was just a little tussle. Things got a little out of hand at the end of the game. But
Mhm.
as you all know, there was a little tussle between LSU and South Carolina during the SEC championship, and at that moment, one of the players' brothers jumped on the court when he kind of saw everything was coming to a light. So I was going to ask Bree first, from her perspective, do you think, since you have kids, would you want your child to kind of back up his sister like that? Do you think that was okay, or what's your thoughts on it?
I think it's a sticky situation. I think I looked at it from both points of perspective that there's a time and a place. I think for me, I could have paused. I definitely would have been out my seat cursing, like, that's my sister. Like, hold on, what's going on? But I don't think I would have made myself down to the court for the simple fact it wasn't like she was getting jumped. It wasn't like a punch was thrown. She was pushed down. It was a nasty push, but it was still kind of an isolated one-on-one situation. What I will say is she would have saw me after the game. Would have been televised. Y'all wouldn't have caught it, but baby, I'd have caught you in that tunnel. I'd have caught you going to that bus. The next time we flew out to your city, I would have had to exchange words with you, and it wasn't going to be the same way you was live with it on TV. I'm not going to put it on social media. You would have had to see me so I can let you know face to face and verbally. You got your one time and your only time with my sibling. It's not going to happen again. But I do think that he should not have one on the court because it was an isolated situation. It wasn't like she got punched, and then it put him in he was arrested. He was released, obviously later on, but we don't know what cloth people are cut from. We don't know how they were raised. They could have been very much raised like, hey, all bets is off when it comes to your siblings. You handle business. And I think sometimes people also forget that perspective. We can't tell somebody how to react when they've been violated. We're all going to react different. So I don't bash him for what he did.
Right. No, I love your response.
I wouldn't have did it. I wouldn't have went down there, but still, she would have had to see me some form of way behind my sister, though.
Yeah, I love your response. You say you really can't. You don't know how people are raised. Everybody's raised different, and it's funny because my husband and I, we look at Instagram comments. So we were looking on social media, and most of the people were agreeing to what you said. It's 50-50. Some were like, if that was my sister, I would have did the same thing. And some people were like, come on now, what were you going to do to a bunch of girls? But at that moment, you don't know how you're going to react.
Oh, no.
Playing basketball, I've never been in a situation like that. But I have been in situations where sometimes the parents get out of control. Most of it's during AAU. It's not in college. But so it all starts at home. And like you said, you don't know how people are raised. I was raised totally different. I don't know, because my mom is night and day with me. I'm non-confrontational, but Crystal Gale is confrontational with a capital C.
So hypothetically speaking, if you was playing one of your your college, because you played in college, so you at one of your college games, a girl pushes you down. We ain't even talking about mama, because we already know how mama gonna react. You got two brothers. You're in the same situation as this girl was in. You have two brothers. Do you think they stand? Rodney may stay in his seat. I don't see Trey staying in his seat.
Yeah, I honestly do see Trey. I see them up, but I don't think Trey would do that just because they know right and wrong. But like you said, after the game is on, like, what do they got a brother? Because we need to see. We
got to have a conversation. Yeah. Somebody's being talked to. Yeah.
Yeah. I think what gets me too is that they're all friends. Like, I forgot her name, but I think Cordos, like, they're all friends. They play in the same conference. I think it just, like you said, I think it just got out of control. Some of my old teammates, we were talking, and then just people on social media that I know that play basketball. When the refs can't get control of the game at the beginning, it kind of just continues to build and build. Yeah. So I think by the time, that's why it happened at the end. You see it, nothing, they were already kind of going at it every quarter. And then it was just kind of like that last bubble, it was popped. And everybody was just like,
everybody went in.
But I do give Dawn Staley grace on how she responded. She was not proud. She knew that's not how her team acted, and she wasn't gonna stand for it. I told my husband, I said, "Oh yeah, somebody gonna get in trouble that next practice on the bus." Even though I believe she had to sit out the first March Madness game because they definitely go into the tournament. I believe some players had to sit out like the first game.
But I also was looking at the comments too, like low key, you chose the smallest person.
Yeah,
that's a big girl. She didn't run up on a whole lot of her size. You know what I'm saying? So I was also looking at it too. I'm like, you one of them. You know, sometimes you can kind of nitpick. You one of those. You didn't run up on somebody your size that was probably going to go toe to toe with you. You went and chose somebody that was tiny, and you took it there. So
yeah, and that's what the LSU coach said. Like, you know, pick on somebody your own size. Basically, she didn't respond as classy as Don Staley did. It was actually pretty funny how Moakley responded.
We're gonna try to add the clips in here, y'all, so y'all can see this.
But she was just like she responded in LSU, I guess.
Fashion.
Yeah. Like she from what is that, New Orleans? Like she from Louisiana. They don't play. I think somebody was like, Boozy should be at the next game. I said, nah, look at here. Y'all, it's not that serious. It was just a basketball game. But yeah, I'm kind of glad. I'm glad it's over and done with, and nobody got seriously hurt. That was the biggest takeaway. It was like, you know, nobody was seriously hurt. Flage's brother did get arrested, but at the end of the day,
I wonder.
Nobody got.
I don't know. Injured. Did he do a response after that?
I haven't seen anything.
Maybe he was told just to be quiet, because I don't think I've heard him speak on how he felt about it, if he would do it again, if it was just he reacted too quick. I honestly don't think I've seen anything. I don't think I've seen him make a comment.
He just reacted too quick. You're not like I said, it's a hostile environment. You're not thinking. You just thinking to protect your sister. But he did do a lot to get on the court. Tighten up security. How y'all let somebody from the stands?
You know what happened? Because remember, it was a big thing with my mind just drew a blank. NBA, the biggest with Ron Artest and Ben Wallace and them, when the fan threw the drink.
Yeah.
That people can make it up there like they can make it down there. When they want to get up there, they gonna make it happen.
Yeah, and basketball is so different because the fans and everybody, they're right there. I remember we played, I think it was Wake Forest, and their fans were just so mean. Fans can be really mean. They do their research. They'll find out everything about you. They're like, oh, you're only in because she's in that. Like, you don't even play that much. Like, dang, I'm still going to school for free. But dang, yeah, they take it personal.
That was us in high school when we played Smith and Valley. Very disrespectful school.
Yeah.
Very.
At the end of the day, it's just a game. We're just, out here trying to compete.
Some people take it too far.
They do. They do. They do. I know they do.
All right, y'all. But we also, like we always do, we try to bring y'all something health related, something that you guys can take back that's a teaching moment. And on top of it being National Women's History Month, it is also Developmental Delay Month as well. It's kind of awareness for that. So one of the topics that hits home for me, because my oldest son, I don't want to say suffers from it, but we diagnosed it early. He's doing a whole lot better, is dyslexia. Mm-hmm. So if you don't know what dyslexia is, it is a learning disability that disrupts how your brain processes written language. So that can be with math, that can be with reading, that can be with writing. Typically, you see that either shapes or letters are kind of flipped backwards. They have an issue with spelling. Sometimes they have a delay with speech. Or they're very reluctant to, and this is how we really noticed with our son, was very reluctant to like read out loud in front of everybody else. And this pretty much started with him in kindergarten. We started seeing the flags of words that started with the B or with the D, he would flip them. Seeing numbers, he would see them out of sequence from what was actually on the paper. And we went through kindergarten. We were like, okay, well, he started kindergarten a little bit early for his age. We'll just hold him back in kindergarten. It's not going to hurt him anyway because he started school early. Held him back in kindergarten. We were still seeing red flags. He progressed. He went to first grade. Then we started seeing behavior issues. And I remember telling the teacher, I'm like, how do we go from a kid who's just sweet, sparky, wants to help everybody, you know, with everything, to like isolated, having behaviors, so forth. So what I asked her to do was, could she kind of pick out a time period that it seemed like he was having these behaviors? Because it started to become every day till he was on a behavior folder. When they started paying attention, it was doing right before they would start their reading time. So he would act out so he wouldn't have to read. Hey, you put me at a table by myself. I don't have to read in front of the class. You're not going to choose on me, because he was embarrassed of reading in front of everybody because he had a reading struggle. So finally, I want to say this happened in probably the second grade. We're in the second grade at this point. And then by the third grade, I was finally able, after we've tried all the resources with the reading teacher and so forth, I was finally able to get Northside to test him for dyslexia. And this is where it gets tricky, because you really have to advocate for your kids sometimes. Sometimes they just don't come out and say, hey, we want to do this test. You have to really push. And in Cameron's case, I had to really, really push, like, something's wrong. We've done everything. We've done additional tutoring. We've come in before class. He's being pulled in the middle of school, in the middle of class. We're not seeing him progress. Mm-hmm. So third grade, going into the spring, we get tested, and then guess what happens? COVID. I'm kid you not. He gets tested 2 weeks later, the world shuts down. So now I have a child who is freshly diagnosed at being dyslexic, and the world shuts down, and you now want him to try to process, learn, and stay on task via computer screen. Because what do? Everybody went virtual. So it even further kind of like pushed him behind more. So we had to get private tutors. We had to get a private reading specialist and so forth. And now he's in the fifth grade now. At a fifth grade reading level, he's passing he's passed his STAR test the past year. He'll be taking it again this year. But we just got his mock test results. He's doing great. But it was a lot. It was a lot of days of crying and trying to encourage him to get that confidence. Confidence was a huge thing for him to get that back, but it was tough. So there is a test. You can ask your school district about doing it. There are also companies that do it outside of the district with having them tested, but unfortunately you have to pay for it. It's not something that insurance covers. The way that they go about doing the testing is they look at their decoding skills of words, how they break down words, their oral language, their reading fluency. So they'll have them read how long it takes for them to get through a sequence of words in a passage, their spelling, the vocabulary, and then being able to recognize words. You will also notice with kids with dyslexia is their ability to memorize sometimes is not there. It's a lot more delayed than the average kid. So things like sight words, if you're noticing, like we just went over these sight words yesterday, he knew all of them. And then the next day it's like he's struggling really bad and he's flipping, like I said, those common letters and stuff. Those are early signs, y'all, to just definitely take another look into it, because it could be early signs of dyslexia. The best thing to do for your child, if they are suffering with this, the earlier you start interventions, the earlier you start getting in with the school district, the better of an outcome that they'll have. It took us literally 2 years to catch up because COVID was not helping. And really I would have a quarterly meeting with the school. Like, I need the reading teacher here. I need the math teacher. We need additional tutoring, summer school. We laid it all out just for him to get back on task with everybody in his grade level. So it took a lot.
Do you think it's hereditary, or is it just something some kids just grow, like you don't notice it until they start school, or how would you
You
notice?
definitely notice more in a school setting because they're being introduced to a lot of those things. So it's really hard to obviously say a 2 or 3-year-old has dyslexia because they haven't learned a certain pattern of language and communication skills and being able to put sentences together, writing, math. All these are things that they get introduced to very heavily in that first, second, and third grade. As far as it being hereditary, there's really no direct link that says it is. However, if a family member has it, it is a higher, like a 30 to 50% chance that your child will have it if the parent has it. However, dyslexia is not, it's common because we know what it is. So when you bring it up, a person knows what you're talking about, but it only affects 7% of the population. 7%. It's not a lot. It's not a lot, but it's so widely known and something that we are ahead of with trying to correct that it's not very a foreign topic that comes up. They have also kind of linked it to like if the child had any kind of like toxic exposures, maybe while you were pregnant or after birth. They also look at things like if the child had limited access to reading materials. So let's just say we don't know what the dynamics are in the household. Maybe the parent doesn't read to them a lot, or they don't have direct access to books. Maybe the school dynamic is different. Maybe they're a lower title school. These can also put the kid at a higher risk for developing dyslexia.
Okay. I think that's good to point out that there's a lot of videos on YouTube now that help kids. Like I know yesterday or the other day I went to visit my niece and she was watching Miss Rachel, but it was talking about side words and
Miss Rachel.
the cow and I was like, okay, but
you all know who Miss Rachel is. If you have kids, you know who Miss Rachel is. You know who what is the other one? Gracie's Corner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
everybody knows who Gracie's Corner is too. And stuff. So you definitely know who those two are. You got kids.
Yeah. But I think it's good that that is out to reach such a young audience because nowadays everybody, they're on a tablet, but at least they're listening to things to be able to pick up on it when they get older. My niece nowadays, all my nieces speak very well for their age, and I know on my older brother's side, my niece, she loves to read. Like any book, can you send me some books? Which you don't, it's not as common. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, yeah, girl, I'll send you some books. What you here? You want somebody for some books? I can do that. So yeah, I think did you suffer from it growing up?
I did not. My brother did. And that was another thing that my mom saw the cues too. And my mom was like, kind of went through the same thing with your brother. And I'm like, no, I just think that, you started him with school too early. It'll pass. He'll pick up. Yeah. And my mom is like, no, I think this is what it is. And sure enough, when we got him tested, that's what it was. But bringing back around the reading materials, one of the things that helped my son as well is we made him read every single day. To this day, before my son can touch a video game, before he can go outside, he has to read. And we don't just do, oh, you read a book. We read a book and then he reads some of his books online, and it's like a computer system that is linked to the school, and it has post quizzes. So not only does he have to read the book, he has to take the quiz because I want to know that you're comprehending what you're reading. If you get all them questions wrong, you either didn't read or you didn't comprehend. And kids will be slick sometimes, y'all. They gonna tell you they read, flip, just clicking the enter button, going through all the pages. Okay, mom, I read. I've had moments like that with him, but now like his confidence level of reading is amazing. Like I'll never forget when he brought home his first chapter book and was like, Mom, I'm on like chapter 4 and this book is about this. And I'm like, this is the same kid like y'all 3 years ago that would just break down and start crying if you asked him to read something. So if you're going through this with your child, give it time. It will pass. It will pass.
Well, that's good to know. I think I struggled with that growing up. I never comprehension was always like I could read it, but then when it came, like you said, the questions afterwards, I would just go blank. Like, what did I just read? And then I think some kids, or even what I struggled with is I don't have a problem reading out loud, but just reading silently. Whatever grade they introduced that you have to read silently in, that's when it just started like going downhill for me. I was like, wait a minute, I don't, and then it just was a mess. But to this day, I'm good now. I don't read as much. I should. I listen to audiobooks.
I can't do audio.
He reads. You can't do the audiobook?
I can't do the audio. It's not the same. Like I love to flip the pages. And I'm that way in college too. Like everything is a PDF book now. Mm-hmm. Everybody loves it. I will spend $200 on my textbook. Let me go to the page. Let me highlight like I'm old school. Like I want my book. I don't want the PDF. Nah, no.
Nothing wrong with that.
I don't want to control nothing.
I think they just made it cost effective. If you're digital, it's because it's cheaper than the hard copy book, right?
It is. It is cheaper. It's more convenient. It's downloaded right then and there. Matter of fact, Amazon. Let me tell y'all about yourselves. Because see, Amazon used to let you rent your books. Last year they stopped. You no longer can rent books through Amazon, your study books. Because I would just rent my books, do what I needed to do, and then send it back in after that semester was over. But Amazon is, I don't know why either, because their platform was the book platform. They done got our little coins and $1 trillion company pretty much, and they don't forgot the foundation, but it is what it is. So
right, so we're going to transition into our last topic for the episode, and it is about blended families. So Bree, you stated that so what's the topic again? As far as, I think you had asked a question. You asked me and I couldn't even remember. I think it was a couple of weeks ago you asked me. I said, I don't know, but I know that topic is going to bring drama for sure.
So the topic was not only being a blended family, but being a blended family and discipline being involved. Whether that be physical discipline or just be kind of a hands-off discipline where you're taking something away, time out, whatever the case may be. What does that look like in the average household? What conversations need to be had? Who can and who can't was pretty much the topic. Y'all, when I tell y'all I got some of these comments back, it was a little serious.
Yeah, and I think Bree might have asked me because I don't, me and my husband, we don't have kids yet. But when I was dating, like, how did I feel about that? Like, would I date somebody with kids? Like, did I know long term I wanted a blended family? And honestly, I know I didn't want that. There was a couple of guys that I dated back in the day that had kids, and it was tough. They would leave dates to go attend to their kid. And as paranoid as I was, I'm like, are you really leaving for the kid? Or are you going to leave? I'm just like, I've painted this whole crazy story in my mind. Like, they didn't leave me to do this. Like,
they over here having a good time.
Yeah. So I knew, as far as dating a man with a child, I knew that was something I didn't want to do long term. But it did inspire me to see how they were as a father. So I think you have to learn how to separate the two. So I will say this: any of the guys that might come across this episode that I dated that do have kids, you are always a great father. That's something that I will not take away from you. It was just as far as dating me, it wasn't. You didn't do a good job, but it could have been the both of us, just because I just knew I didn't want to do that. But you were always great fathers in my eyes.
So
To your children.
hypothetically speaking, though, if you met
Hmm.
Donzel and we're just gonna say he had one child, y'all are dating, and now obviously y'all at a point, you're around the child, there's an established relationship, this child's coming around you. How would you feel either about disciplining that child, or even if you flipped it and you had a child and Donzel is the bonus, he's,
Hmm.
the bonus dad, how would you feel about him disciplining that child?
It depends on the age, because discipline looks different for everybody. We're in a day and age of now of a lot of people practice what is called gentle parenting,
Mhm.
which I love, but at the same time, you do have to go from gentle to whatever's the next level above gentle, because sometimes gentle doesn't work.
Every kid is
Um,
different.
yeah. So I would actually be okay with that. Vice versa too. I would be okay with them, disciplining my child. I'd be okay with Donzel giving me the right to discipline his child. I think it all comes down to the adult sitting down having a conversation,
Mhm.
because the child could be acting some way over here versus when they're just with the other parent. And then it's like, okay, well, I don't ever see that. I don't ever see them act like that. So why are you disciplining them? So I think it all comes down to having a conversation first as an adult before just taking action when
Okay.
you're the bonus person.
And would you say, so you would allow them to physically discipline the child as well as gentle parenting the child?
After we all sit down and have that conversation for sure first. But as far as just the first time over here and then you put like me physically, no. I think it comes down to having a conversation first as adults.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, as a child, they don't know better. They might know, but we're gonna give them the
Depending on the
benefit
age,
of
they
the
might know.
doubt. I'm a benefit of the doubt type of person. I'm gonna give you the benefit of the doubt first, and then like, oh, okay, this is something you do on a regular. Like, all
So
right.
we did get some feedback. So, all right, Brittany Watson, y'all, who happens to be my sister, she put, never been in this type of situation, but if I were, I don't think it's appropriate for the bonus parent to spank my child. I feel like taking things away is okay, but I would also need them to run it by me so I understand why my child is being punished. I would take into consideration that the rules at the household might differ from mine, but at the end of the day, all parents should be included when it comes to punishment. So
Right.
I think this is a two-way fold. And here's my thing when it comes to spanking of a child. So if y'all don't know, I'm in my second marriage. I came into the marriage with one child. My husband came into the marriage with four. Okay. We are a strong blended family. It was a lot of kids involved before we got married. And my husband and I had to have this conversation because off the back, my husband did not feel comfortable or in a space where he felt like he could discipline our child. And I was more the person that pushed the discipline. I'm like, well, I trust you. I'm in a relationship with you. I've seen you in a heated space. I know what your temperament is. I know it would not ever be a place of a cause harm. Now, I think where people get things confused is this was not a conversation that was had when we were boyfriend and girlfriend. This is a conversation that was had as husband and wife. And
Right.
there's a difference. When we are boyfriend and girlfriend, we're still courting. I'm still trying to even see if we're going to get to the threshold of marriage. I'm learning you, you're learning me. We're trying to figure out if I'm wifey material, you're husband material, if you are what I classify as a protector, a provider, a leader.
Hmm.
So for me, a boyfriend spanking a child whether he's living with you or not. It's a real touchy situation. To me, it's a no-go. Y'all would have to have been in a relationship for a very long period of time, and that conversation would have had to have been had amongst all parties and adults. When it comes to a husband, I think it's a total different situation because of the fact that when we got married, we went before God and we said, through sickness and health, through rich or for poor. Mm-hmm. If you really go by the Bible, depending on how religious you are, a man is the head of the household. He is to lead. So when I married you in the situation that you are the head, you are my provider, you are my protector. So if I have that mindset that you check off all three of those things, how am I then supposed to strip that away from you as a man to say, well, you do good on all those things, but hold on now, you can't discipline my child I had before you. They contradict one another. Right. So for me, yes, I think you're supposed to have a conversation amongst all parents if that other parent is heavily involved in that child's life. But I don't agree on, and you see this a lot, where this daddy don't pay no child support, don't see this child, don't call this child, nothing. Mama starts dating somebody new. This now new man is now taking on the responsibility as a father figure in this child's life. And now here comes daddy talking about what you can and what you can't do. You can't do that. Right. Now, when I'm in your position and I'm holding it down and I'm being reasonably responsible for this child, you don't have no say so. You don't.
Are they married though?
I think if you're married, yes. And even as a boyfriend girlfriend situation, I don't think if you've been riding with somebody for a couple of years and this daddy has been non-existent, but then you have this one instant where, let's just say he sees a child once every couple of months, he's not paying no child support, and you discipline this child, and then he has the nerve to want to have an attitude. I'm not trying to hear nothing you had to say. And as the former spouse to that person, baby mom, baby dad, that's where they have to step in and say, hey, like, you're not even around. You can't check the block and have an audacity to say anything when this person is present every day for that child.
So what you're saying is when the parent isn't present, they lose their parent, like they lose their rights?
I absolutely think you lose their rights. You're not financially taking care of this child. You're not pouring into this child. You're not there when this child needs you, but you want to have a say so. Like, you don't get to do that. You don't get to pick and choose when you want a parent. No.
I agree with you, but I don't think that takes away their rights, because at least they're trying.
But it depends on what your definition, it depends on what your definition of trying is, because it takes nothing to pick up the phone. It takes nothing to come see your child. I would rather you make memories with your child than child support. Okay. If you can't, and some people, they can't, depending on what their record is, that, things happen. They may can't get a job. Maybe there's multiple kids involved. Once you get to a certain number of kids, you lucky if you see $25 in child support. So there are certain things that change. But if that man is trying to make that $25 in child support, it's not a lot. We know that can do nothing. But he's actively saying, look, can I take my kid to the park? I'm here at the school lunch, I'm doing this, then absolutely he can be a part of that kid's say so in parenting. But I'm talking about the ones that they don't even do that.
So they only come back when they find out.
They only want to come back around when somebody else is involved and they have a say so. But in my situation, I'm married. My current spouse is engaged. They have a child together. He has never voiced an opinion or had an issue with Chris disciplining Cameron. And Chris has been in Cameron's life since he was 1.5 years, and we're also in 2 different states. So there's only so much I think you can do as a parent over the phone when it comes to disciplining a child, especially when you're raising a young man who's only getting older. Now we're out of the spanking stage. Now I'm pouring into you what's right, what's wrong, that kind of situation. And that actively takes a parent being here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get what you're saying then. Because those are two different, I guess, when we say blended families, yeah, we're talking about blended families, but those are two different situations. One is like your situation, and then the other is, you know, single mom has always been around. The dad has no, he's not around at all. But as soon as single mom finds somebody that she's happy with and sees long term with, then the dad wants to come back and try to, oh, well, have a say so. So those are two different situations. So I agree with you.
We did. We had a couple of different comments about it. I know one of my sorority sisters, she was very strongly about pretty much saying that she felt like if she could not discipline the child and she ran into a situation, and I'll just leave her as my sorority sister, I won't say her name, ran into the situation where mom just absolutely had a problem with it. And she's married. Her and her spouse have been together for years, both prior military situation or whatever. And coming into the relationship, he had 3 children. They don't have any children together. And mom was just absolute, you can't discipline my daughter. And it came down to the cut and dry of her opinion was, if I cannot discipline your daughter, but I can have her in my house, I can financially be responsible for her, I can pour into her as a young lady, I can meet all these other check blocks, but I can't discipline her, then she can't live here. She can't be here. And I know that struck a nerve with some people because they're just like, well, how you going to tell somebody that their child can't be there? Is it that serious? So for, however you take it, I had to stand by her on that decision because to me, that's a slap in the face. I pay the bills in this household and you think that your child can disrespect me and there are no repercussions. I shouldn't have to go to my husband to discipline his child. If you trust me to that capacity to do everything else, you should be able to trust me to the point of that capacity that I can discipline your child and it not be that I'm isolating her, I'm abusing her, and so forth. And my husband and I have had that same conversation, and that was something that came up early in our marriage. Before we were married, honestly, while we were dating, I made that very thorough that nothing that ever came through either threshold of our home would ever be treated any different from the next. Your child's not going to come in town and certain rules bend or twist or turned on, turned off because they're visiting versus our kids here in the household are going to be treated any different when your kids come in town. They have access to more than your child. I don't believe in separating kids like that. Like boundaries are boundaries and they're in place for everybody.
Right, because then you get well, I did this at, mom's house and she didn't say nothing about it. Or, when maybe it's more, freedom at the mom's house. Like, oh, I can have this guy over. I can have this girl over. We can do this. We can do that. I can come in at any time I want to because I can do it at this house. So, yeah, setting that foundation and setting that whole, like, this is the standard. It ain't, you're not going above it or below it. Like, this is it.
And we've been
don't follow it,
I would be lying to y'all to say out of the 4 kids that my husband has, we've not hit roadblocks like that. Something as simple as, well, I do TikTok videos with mom, or I stay up past 9 o'clock. Not here. When them lights turn off for everybody else, they turn off for you too. You're going to bed. We don't do social media. No. If everybody else going to bed, and that's what I'm talking about, because it blurs the line for everybody else. And I don't ever want my kids to turn around and be like, well, why is it that when such and such comes in town, she gets to stay up to 11, she has a cell phone, she's on social media, she's doing TikToks. No, you do it. It's a blurred, there's no blurred line. It's set in stone. When you're here at this house, you a kid. Go outside and you play.
Right.
put the cell phone down. You in bed at 9. Like we're not doing all that. No.
Oh man. Well, as we wrap up our episode of Sisters with a Purpose, we do always want to end with something positive that's going on and just some good news that's happened to us recently. So, Bree, do you want to share any good news with our fans?
I'm wrapping up. I'm this close to one of our business entities kind of being like set in stone, and hopefully the contract is going to be awarded. It has been a long time coming. We've been working on it since last year. I won't say officially what it is, but we're right there. Hopefully within like the next 2 months, we're good in the clear, and I can start looking at real estate. What's yours?
So mine would be, I've kind of changed teams. I was always team Honda. I traded in my Honda and got a new Kia Sorento. And I finally actually might love a car. So I got a new car, leasing it for sure, because I work from home. There's no need to purchase a car. But yeah, I just got a new car and I love it. I haven't had a Kia since college. So my college teammates, they knew I had this little red Kia Sophia car. But yeah, I went back to Kia and I finally
Kia has changed the whole, like Kia has changed the whole like design, everything the past couple of years, futures, all that. They on a different platform now. This ain't the same Kia.
Yeah, no, I finally love a car. Like it I've always had a Honda just because it's safe. And I was really a little nervous to trade it in. So I wanted to tell you, right? But I could not pay that much for a car note. I don't care how nice the car is. Not for a Kia. And no shade to Kia, but I just said if I wanted to pay that much, I would have just went and got the Audi I wanted. So right now, the Kia Sorento, it is really nice. I've
always been so responsible. Let me tell y'all, at least you're gonna do things the textbook and the right way, because I'm not that disciplined at all. I bypass, I'll be having blinders on sometimes. She will do it the right platform away, like nope, be saving, house, nope. She does everything in steps and at the right moment. I'm the I want it now kind of person. Yeah, I got a high ass card note. I ain't gonna even lie to you. But I did want to add a little twist in here. So before we wrap it up, I have a question. What is something that is like a pet peeve of yours, but it's petty to everybody else?
Me?
Mm-hmm.
What is a pet peeve of mine, but it is petty to everyone else? I don't know. I don't really have that many pet peeves.
So you don't have nothing, like not even a flaw or nothing that you're like, something about you that's just you're very stern about that other people would just be like, this is so petty.
Nothing really gets, because I work from home, so I'm not really interacting with people like that. I'm always at home. I'm trying to think, what is something that just gets on my nerves?
Mine is food. Don't ask me for my food.
I was just about to not say that, but I was going to say when people send their food back. Like if it's I guess now if it's something you ordered and they didn't, like say you ordered a steak a certain way and they bring it out and it's not the way you wanted it. I understand that. But if you order, like let's say you wanted to try something new, so you order something out the norm and you try it and you don't like it and you send it back, that bothers me. I'm like, you should have just stuck with what you got.
You should have just stuck with what you normally eat.
Yeah, but like if it's a new place and you truly didn't know, Like when we went out, you were like, "Oh," I said, "Yeah." I thought it was a. It was like these
Yo,
little
they got me
sliders.
at the rooftop. I'm thinking it's like little sliders or something, man. That thing came out like a whole poor boy steak with a
Yeah, it's
bunch
like
of
a
cheese slapped on it. I
pastrami,
was
like
like,
a
yeah,
pastrami
no.
sandwich or something. Like no, it wasn't. You would think as nice as the restaurant was, like it wouldn't have came out like that. So
That
that was
wouldn't even
okay.
been on the menu as nice as the restaurant is. Like, what like these two don't even go together. But mine, I would say it's sharing food. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like I don't, especially if it's something I really, really love, like my cheesecake, my chicken Madeira from the Cheesecake Factory. Like I have certain dishes that I like, and typically they're far and in between that I have them. I try to cook as much as possible. So when I have these dishes, I just want to enjoy the dish. So when my hubby come over there, like, give me some, girl, whole attitude changes. And he'd be like, this is so, you really being petty because I'm asking for a bite. So that's my petty flaw.
I can see that.
Share. Mm-mm.
I can see that. I can see that for real, from you, just because of how you are. I can definitely see that. Because you know you got your kids, you got you're always so busy. So when it's finally time to just enjoy something, you don't want to share it. I can see that, and it's not
I'm
personal.
always sharing. I'm already always sharing. Like no.
Yeah.
I don't want to share. No. All right. Well, y'all, like, subscribe, share, give us some feedback, and we'll see y'all with episode 4, and which happens to be Alcohol Awareness Month. So I'm very, very tempted and hoping that we can have another person we interview about their experience with that. So that's going to be fun.
Yeah, because no guests this time. You just had us, but hopefully you were able to enjoy our content and enjoy this episode. And we will see you next time.
All right.
Ah, 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 ah.